Well, I can answer that fairly easily. If you have a law enforcement background, it takes a certain amount of hours. If you have no law enforcement or military background, it takes, I would say, about 6,000 hours, Ed? Like 6,000 hours, which translates into 2,000 hours a year that most people work. So once you've been with a company for 3 years with no background, you can apply with the California Bureau of Licensing. You have to have your hours certified, which is something me and Ed can do for you. Once you are confirmed to have the background needed, you can take the test. The test is a really, really tough test, but California is terrible when it comes to making sure that you are doing anything to keep your license up. So literally, once you get your license, you don't have to do anything. Whereas states like Oregon and Washington and stuff, you have to go to those locations and literally take a certain amount of hours each year to maintain your license. California is a really tough test. I'd say California and Nevada are the two toughest places, followed by maybe Illinois. And once you get your license, it's yours to keep. It comes back to consistency. You can't outwork a bad diet, let's put it that way. So if you eat poorly, you're probably not gonna be in the world's greatest shape. But I always tell people, the surveillance position, more so than statements, the surveillance position is probably the most mentally challenging thing I've ever done. To sit in a car all day long and to basically stare at a dot on the wall and say, don't take your eye off that. What you find is when you get home from those types of days, you're very lethargic. So if you can find ways to break your day up, if somebody's not active, pull off the case and go take a 3-mile walk and then come back and work the case. If you can get home from a case, do something. I mean, I don't have the same routine from one day to the next. I just felt it's easier to stay in shape than to get into shape. I couldn't find a podcast if I tried. I don't think I've ever seen a podcast. I get the Harvey McKay one. I don't know how I get that. And I forward that out to the sales and office people. But again, I do a fairly good job, I think, of trying to stay on top of various articles and whatnot, but nothing in particular. And then if I find something that I think is related to the industry, or more so maybe maybe you send out an article to everyone, but it's particularly one person that you want to read that article, if that makes sense. So it's a form of a Jedi mind trick, but you're hoping the person that needs the Jedi mind trick is actually taking the time to read the article. I will say one thing: I don't give advice on what you do with your money, and I won't tell you who to vote for. Those are decisions you gotta make on your own. We've already touched on it. Literally, it's to be consistent and just go out and do your job to the best of your ability each and every day. I would say the things that you could do to make Ed's life easier, or Chemo's life easier, or Cheryl Gall, this is a very difficult job to do if you have personal problems and stuff going on in your life. If you're having trouble with your significant other and you're a surveillance individual, it's very difficult to sit in a surveillance vehicle all day long and stay focused on what you need to do. And everybody's, at any time in anybody's life, you're gonna have some ups and downs. If you could show me one person who said, no, it's been up here my entire life, it just doesn't happen. So it's about communicating. We can't guess what it is that you want to do. We can't guess what's going on in your life. We can certainly see a lot of the time the results of an individual, and it goes back to being consistent. If you have a guy or a girl that's been very, very consistent their entire life, and all of a sudden their numbers drop off, that's usually a telltale sign that something's going on. So it's much easier for us is just tell us what's going on, tell us where you want to be, tell us what we can do to help you, as opposed for us to try and make assumptions or guess those questions. That's like Tom Brady going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and saying, I paid my dues and I'm going to win a lot of games for you, but if we get to the Super Bowl, I'm going to take the Super Bowl off. This is an industry where, I mean, we call them Blackout Days for a reason. That's literally our Super Bowls. So if your thought process is, I want my holidays to myself, I would suggest a couple of things. One, become a statement investigator and just do statement investigations. Become an account manager. They, for the most part, work on the holidays, but they're at least at home. Or maybe you might want to find a new industry to get into. Be a nice person, and you'll get out of life exactly what you put into it, specifically in relationships. You know, I'm a huge believer in karma. Don't believe in a whole lot of stuff, but I do believe in karma. So, and again, I just, you know, if you see, like Dennis, who works outside and cleans up the exterior of the building each and every morning. I see him every single morning. And he says he works at 3 different locations. He says there's only one person at any of the locations that he sees that even acknowledges him. I don't know how you walk by somebody every single day and you don't just say hello to them at least. So from our standpoint, from Horsemen, I mean, we kind of live by a rule that if you're a jackass, you can't work here. It's kind of a no jackass policy. But then again, you have to ask yourself, what's your definition of a jackass? And we've had a number of jackasses work here. But once you prove that you're a jackass, we're going to show you the door at some point.